Hey everyone, Egman here with another video, and I am back in Kansas, and I got a good night's sleep last night, so I can finally, sit down and talk about this boy. I guess the most powerful card in my deck, right? The reason I went undefeated, all day Friday. It's the Cell Android Absorber, an uncommon from set 9 that is causing such a stir, and it was really surreal for my point, not to take away from this video, but I went undefeated on Friday. And then, people were telling me, check Facebook out, and just people were going wild with what they thought was happening with my deck. And no one really reached out to me, and I felt like there was a lot of false information about what was going on. So I wanted to clear up all of that. I want to talk about the card. I want to talk about how the combo works. I want to talk about my opinion, what I think should happen next with it. And all that, I just want to make one video. And I didn't want to make it just a rush video, because I didn't want it to become any worse. So that's why I waited till now. So sorry about that. And I think it's calmed down enough where people are kind of figuring out that it maybe was a little bit exaggerated. But we're gonna just talk about all that. And yeah, let's get into it. So first, let's talk about what the Cell Android Absorber really does. So it's a 3-drop for 1 green specific 10k power 5k combo. Has this active main for 1 green. If your leader card is a Cell card and the only cards in your battle area are Android 17 cards, then there's a colon. It says play this card from your drop area, then your opponent chooses 1 card in their hand and places it in their drop area. You can't play Cell Android Absorber for duration of the turn. It also has this auto: when this card is removed from your battle area by a skill, choose up to 1 Android 18 card with any cost of 3 in your drop area and play it with the skills negated for duration of the turn. This is a really good effect, but not the active main is the one that people are kind of flipping out about. So in my deck, what I comboed this with was the Quick Sweep Android 17, just because you can play this from your drop area for free as long as you have you just have no cards in your battle area, which means this could be for any deck. You can just play this for 1 green. You can't have like field cards though either, or tokens, so you have to have literally nothing. But if you do, you can play this from your drop area. And the same thing for this Cell Android Absorber. You can't have any tokens. You can't have any field cards. You have to literally only have Android 17 cards for this to do it. Though, and this also gets the +2 energy if you have a Cell card in play. But the main idea with this is that it's just an Android 17 that you can pay for, get out for 1 energy. You can even play it from your drop. I think like an alternative one is like the Star Deck Android 17. That's a good target too, because you can negate an attack, it stays on the field, and then you can play Cell from your drop area. Very handy there. So that's the main combo there. And the ruling that occurred, and this has been on the FAQ for a while. It has this. It's the only one for Android Absorber. But if your opponent activates Denial of Hope in response to this card's activating skill being activated from the drop area, this card. Your opponent chooses 1 card in their hand and places it in their drop area. You can't play Cell Android Absorber for duration of the turn. Skill resolve. And if you don't know what Denial of Hope means, it just means if a card's being played with 20k power or less, is played into the drop area instead. And all this is really saying is if the card activates the ability but doesn't hit the board, does your opponent still drop 1 card? And the answer is yes, it does. And so this is why a lot of this works. This is the first step of it working, and then there's a second step talking about it as well. So that's good enough, right? So you have Quick Sweep Android 17 out. Your opponent activates Denial of Hope when you play the Cell Android Absorber. Then you pay, and so they have to drop a card, and then what, right? You still have a Cell leader, presumably. You still only have Android 17 cards in play. Can you activate the effect again? And so this is where people are really decisive about this, if they like it or not, or if it should work or not. And the current ruling is yes, you can, and it goes back to also and then since you activated it, it doesn't have you just have to activate it for your opponent to drop a card. Your opponent drops another card. And so that's where the memes where start paying 1 green energy, and everything. Shouts to George. But so that's just the idea for it. And that's like the whole loop. And the reason it works is it says play this card from your drop area, then your opponent chooses 1 card in their hand and places in their drop area. It's not play this card from your drop area. If you did, your opponent chooses 1 card from their hand and place in the drop, and that's the reason it doesn't work for this. This is why they clarified it here in this ruling. And if you want to get and this isn't like a unique ruling for just this card. This has been in the game for at least a year. If you remember, like this 1-drop green Broly, it has this effect that says when this card is removed from a battle area or by a skill or KO'd, and your leader card is a green Freeze's army, choose 1 or 2 cards from your life, add them to your hand, then choose up to 1 green Broly BR card with any cost of 4 from your hand and play it. it has the same then choose up to one green Broly. And the reason that this is important, because it's not conditional, right? And that's like where people get kind of hung up with, it's, if you can't pay the cost, you can't play an ability, right? But taking the 1 or 2 cards from your life for this Broly is not a cost. It's just part of the effect. And, Dragon Ball has this mantra, and this is an official rule too. I just don't know the actual number for it. But if you do as much as possible to resolve an effect. So even though choosing 1 or 2 cards in your life is not optional, if you can't do it, you still are able to play it. And this is really important because that's why Chile and Limo works. I can't get away from this leader either. But because it has this perm that you can't add cards from your life to your hand during your turn except for this card's skill. So if you have this 1-drop Broly out and it pops, you have a green Frieza army leader, you still go through all this. You just don't add the 1 or 2 cards from your life because you can't with your leader skill. But you still resolve it because choosing the 1 green Broly with an energy cost of 4 from your hand and play it is not part of the requirement for this effect to go off. The requirement is having this card being removed by a skill or KO and you having the green leader. That's Frieza army. So this is not unique to this leader or this card for this then wording, but this is kind of one of the first times where we've kind of had a loop in a sense. So let's talk about how the loop really works and how to get into it. Okay, so here we are. So let's say this is our board. Let's say we have these 3 cards in our drop area. Let's say we have 3 energy open. And it's our turn, right? So the idea of what you can do with 3 energy is that you can pay 1 green, and you play this from your drop area. Now you have only, because you had nothing in your battle area. Now you can pay another green to play Cell from here. There you go. Your opponent drops a card because you activate this card's effect, and then so that's like the way you do it originally. And now this card has its you can't play this for duration of the turn effect active as well. However, let's say we get rid of this card. Let's say we swing with our leader, we combo this guy, and now, it's in your drop area. What can we do now? So what we can do, and this is what the ruling is currently, and this could be changed. Also, if this ruling ever changes, I'll pin it in the comments below, hopefully. So hopefully I'm not peddling false information. But the idea is that you can pay another green, you can activate this card's effect. However, you can't play this for the rest of the turn. So it stays in your drop area, but your opponent still has to drop 1 card. And that's the idea with it. So you can see, if you have a lot of energy and you're allowed to do this, where this could be really, really detrimental. The idea of, if you had 6 energy and you tapped all 6, your opponent can drop 6. And I can see how that can be like a really inflammatory thing in a lot of sense of also, if you hear this, right? Eggman was playing a deck where he could tap 6 energy and make you discard 6 cards. That could be a red flag, right? In a lot of ways. And honestly, I don't. So here's my experience with the combo and everything. It's not super duper good. There are situations where it can be and all that, but it's really specific. First of all, if this was not this is tied to 2 leaders, and this is only the only one that's viable right now. And to just kickstart it, you have to pay 2 energy, right? You gotta pay 1 energy, have this out. You have to pay 1 energy, get this out. These cards have no protection. I was talking about if you denial this card, but honestly, if you want to get around this, and a lot of people are misplaying this as well, you have to just get rid of this guy. This is the most important. So let's say I use the effect, play this. You have Vegeta the Cruel in your hand. What card do you get rid of? You get rid of this card, 100%. And also because people are getting rid of this card, and not only do I get it back, but then I can also play this from my drop area if I needed to, or anything like that. But yeah, you just really want to get rid of this card, because also I need this on the field for the effect to work. And so if this is the only card, let's say they KO this, right? So this is where I'm at. I made them discard 1 card. I swing on their leader, combo this off, and then I can pay 1 green energy to get this guy out again with no protection, no skills activated. Now I'm tapped out with 3. My opponent only, they discard 1 card, but they also played 1 card, and now I'm just wide open for attack. And even if I had 4 energy open, this is my field. I have these 2 out, energy's still all tapped, and I made my opponent discard 2 cards, which is still super underwhelming. and not really worth it in a lot of fact. And like a lot of decks don't even let you do that. Like Green Gohan right now and Boo, both those decks don't care about their hand sizes too much. They're fine with dropping cards, and if you tap out against them, you just lose the next turn, right? Because they're so aggressive. So that was my experience with this combo, and it's not very worth it. And the other thing is that, you know, the idea is that you have to start this combo with nothing on board, which means you have to develop, like, sure, I can make my opponent discard a couple of cards a turn, but I'm not, you know, going towards a win condition. This card's not pressuring, you know, lethal at all. These cards are just like a dopey 4K and a dopey 10K. And a lot of times what I do, you know, you play these, like, here's what the, you know, in quote unquote intended way to do it. And I guess maybe I shouldn't have said quote unquote, because it literally is the intended way. What you do is that you pay 2 for these. I'll untap these. Let me add another energy. Put this android in the drop. So there we go. We played these 2, made our opponent drop a card, and then we successor, pay 2, get this boy out, make our opponent drop another card with this card effect, and also make, you know, blow up something on the field with barrier, and then we get this card out for free. Right? That's the idea. That's a good combo in itself. That's way better in a lot of ways, because, you know, it's the same idea where we're able to make our opponent discard 2 cards, but we also, we didn't have to go into the battle phase to activate it, and there's so many battle phase like combos and rival things that we just don't want our opponent to activate. So that's good. And then also we get this out for free. We've got a 25k, and then we also have a, you know, a 20k with barrier that's also Deadly Defender, and then this can go into, you know, since we have 9 energy out now we can go into like Super 17 the next turn, because these equal 9, you get Super 17 out. That's the actual good play with this deck. That's how you actually start winning stuff. But if you just kind of keep dwindling their hand, not only are you not doing much, but like your opponent's just going to be really aggressive and, you know, be able to aggro you out. You need these resources. Like tapping out to make your opponent discard 2 cards isn't worth it. Tapping out to make them discard 3 cards. Tapping out to make them discard 6, sure, if you get there. But like it's not oppressive, and that's the big thing too, because like, if, you know, obviously going into these guys is a good play, sets up for your, you know, Super 17. With this deck, you don't attack your opponent's leader because you don't want them getting any resources. So just being able to crit 4 life is super good. So you want to get to that position, and just having these 2 out doesn't get you there. Additionally, like even the fact, so let's say I did that last turn. Let's say I got these 2 out, and I want to start, you know, dwindling my opponent's hand down again. So I go, let's say I'll even go, let's go up to 5 energy, which would be a crazy amount for this deck. At least, you know, in this position. Let's say we have 5 energy. So we have these 2 on the board still, right? Let's say I attacked with this, they killed Deadly Defender. There we go. Let's say I want to start doing their hand loop again. So first I have to swing in here. Pay 1 green energy. Do there. So now I'm at 10k on them, and even if I'm awake, I'm at 15k. I do one 25k attack, which this is already a 25k attack without having to use energy, and we lose this. Then we pay 1 green energy. Then we pay another one. They have to discard a card. Then we swing with this, combo this, gets rid of it. Then we pay 2 more. They discard 2 more cards. So on this turn, we tapped out, and we were able to make them discard 3 cards. We made our board worse. We're completely tapped out. And then we also, our board is worse. We gave them attack. We had a 25k attack and a 9k attack go in. And that's about it. Now everything's tapped. We are susceptible to being attacked, to pretty much losing next turn. And and just our board sucks, right? Like it makes our board suck because it's really specific to having nothing out or just these 2 out for the loop to happen. So it's rarely ever worth it. And the only time it is worth it is if they proactively pop this for you, right? If they pop this, you're doing great, because not only do you get to draw 3 cards, but now if you're at 5 energy, and I will contend this, if you're at 5 energy at late game, and let's say maybe you have your cell effect open, like you have 1 card under it, like that, you're kind of safe to tap out, right? Because you know that they can only swing with their leader swing anymore. So you do this, pay 1, do this, pay 2, swing with your leader, combo, and then you make them discard 4. right? Which is that's a good amount. I will say 4 is a good amount. But this is still interactable. You have to go into the battle, which means that if they are playing a card, well, one, if they have a negate, if they have like a shocking death ball or after image to get rid of this, that's good. If they have like the new cooler and they're able to just not only pop this but pop both of these cards if they're really feeling it, they can do that. Now if these are just on the board, I would have been safe to go into the 6-drop. You make them discard a card, but then you get greedy. If they have an answer to it, then you have to you lost a bunch of free energy. You lost your way to successor, because if I just paid 2 to just get these guys out. So with my leader, comboed 5k. They use cooler or something to blow this up. Now that's gone. I can pay 1 energy to get this back, and then I can make them. No, pay 2 to make them drop it, but like it's not, and then that's it. Then I have this is my board and I'm tapped out, and they have a 20k double strike on the board already, and I can't. And since they rivaled it out, even if I use my leader effect to put everything in rest, they can't. It just untaps next turn because it's only puts in rest. It doesn't say anything about you can't untap. It just says that any card they play is played in rest mode until the start of my next turn. So that's the whole thing. That's everything about it. And I think if anyone plays with this and tries it out, they'll realize just how clunky this is, and it's more cheese than actual strategy. It can maybe like win you a game late game, but it's not important. And so the reason I'm laying all this out, and my big conclusions with this are 2 things. One, I don't think this necessarily needs to be fixed. That's my opinion. If you guys disagree, that's fine. But that based on me playing it this past weekend, I don't think it's needed to. Number 2, if it does get eroded, and I think a good way is kind of what you have this effect, and we have to have it strictly say you can only activate this active main once per turn. For any, like, it has to be not like a soft once per turn where you say, oh, you can only play this specific one, and then when it goes in the drop area, it's a new one, quote unquote. We have to say you can only activate this effect of Cell Android Absorber once per turn, which means that no matter which one activates, let's say you have like a second one in your drop area, you'll be, oh, this is a different one. Nothing like that. Strictly saying this active main can only be activated once per turn. That's fine. And that's the idea. So then you can't abuse it, which I think is fine. I think this deck that I ran, it's good without this combo. I strictly made this deck before I figured out this combo, and I didn't figure it out myself. I was told about it. But yeah, I was told about this combo, and I'm like, oh, cool, I guess I can do it if I need to. But this deck was working, and I was doing most of my playtesting before I figured that out, and that's why I decided to bring it. Not because of this, but because it was good without it, and then this was just an extra fun thing that happened. But yeah, I rarely used it. I used it probably 2 times that mattered this entire weekend. Once on Friday and once on Saturday. Both of them were against Surge Piccolo. That's where you can get greedy with this deck because they're doing hand control as well, and they're not swinging at your leader. So you can, like, when I played those games, I was usually at like 6 or 7 life, and I wasn't afraid of getting bursted down. And then, I could just kind of, they didn't have a lot of removal. So they'd have a Vegeta the Cruel sometimes, and that really hurt because I'd have to get rid of this. And another card that really, like, there's a lot of cards that wreck this combo too. Like Black Mass Saiyan. If you're afraid of this combo, just play Black Mass Saiyan in your side deck. Like, you can't play these anymore. And Cell has like really tiny hand sizes, so they don't want to get rid of him and all that. But also, like, this card's super deadly as well, because it makes you put you choose one of these cards when you play it, and then you put it in your energy, which means you can't play, like, you can't. If you hit the right card and they don't have any more of them, you can't do the combo anymore. This, 17 is in your energy, which is strictly worse than your drop because you can play it from there. And which is the same thing with like Overrealm, like Mass Saiyan, or like Dimensional Banisher Fu, that's the one. You can use Dimensional Banisher Fu, put this instead from your drop, and you put it in your warp, and now you can't reach it anymore. You have to find another copy of it. So it just means like your opponent has to expend more resources, and it essentially makes them like go -2 because you not only pop the card in the field, but then you can't bring it back from the drop area as well. So I think there's a lot of counterplay. I think people weren't expecting these to work as well as they did, but the reason I did so well this weekend was not because of this combo. I don't think this combo is broken. I think if you try this combo out yourself, you're going to find the same thing. I don't think it needs Bandai interaction. But if it does, I think it just needs to say that this can, a wording update to say this is a hard once per turn, and in some way So you can't choose. You can play it once still. Like the original interaction with this, I think is fine. Being able to make them drop one card and then be able to successor and then get a free, like even this 3 drop. You can get this out for free for the turn, which sets up your plays into your 9 drop. Right. I think that's a really solid line. I don't think it's abusive, but I think it's just like enables the deck. So if they get rid of this, that's gonna suck, and this deck's gonna be broken like that. But if they just eroded that, the active mains hard once per turn, I think that's fine as well. I don't think it's needed, but I'm not the I'm not the card balancer here. That's just been my interactions with it. So that's that. I've probably rambled about this for way too long, not only today, but just this weekend in general. But here are my thoughts. I hope you guys watched this and had an open mind with it. If you're still kind of think I'm just saying, trying to be biased and say, oh, my deck's not broken, I'm broken, or something like that, please try playing with these cards. Let me know what you actually think with them. I think that's the best way to figure out if something's broken or not, is to try it yourself. And usually, after a game or two, you can figure out for sure your feelings about it. But I just felt like there's so many people who weren't at the event, who didn't know how I was playing, who haven't tried these cards out, figure out that I was cheating or was abusing a rule, which I strongly believe neither of those were happening. So yeah, that's going to be it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you guys think about these cards, what should happen with them, and I'll catch you all next time.